Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today grateful for all the gifts that you bestow on us and all the family and our friends, and all the things that we enjoy in this life. We ask your guidance and direction on the decisions that have to be made here today, and all these things we ask in your Son's name, Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Consent agenda on the board, been published. Motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Question? Yes.
Our records indicate the sheriff's department is over their allowed budgeted positions.
But we cannot determine the sheriff's staffing. We can determine his overall budget, but this is an effort to get it on the minutes. The sheriff has to determine the staffing and who's appointed and who's not. So I don't think we can amend that.
So the commission doesn't set the number of positions per department or office?
The sheriff is an elected official who controls his department. I can't go into Louis' office and say, I want you to do this and this and this. He is in charge of that office. Same with Jake. And whoever else is, that's in here, that's an elected official. The voters tell that person to run that office.
So if any department wanted to add a position to their office, they could do so without.
It would have to be with budget problems and all that, but that's their issue.
What happened on this issue right here is, from what I understand, Dan, 2 people that work in the jail went out on the road and they had to hire one to go into the facility. That's what I was told, Dan.
Well, overall is what goes back to Prop P, and we promised citizens of San Francisco County we would add 10 road officers. That's what that reflects there. And in the first class county and non-charter form of government, the sheriff determines how many deputies will be in the county. I don't know about other offices, but that's how it is for our county.
What
Well,
about,
yeah, on Prop P, that's what we promised, and I know this, Dan, if you go back and read that, we only really approved 5 right now.
The county commission approved 5,
Yeah.
but it really wasn't up to the county.
Right.
okay, now, what about the discrepancy between, what's the title of the allowed staffing, what's that official name?
The budgeted positions?
Well, is that the official name? It's 88, right?
Correct.
Okay.
That's total employees, not
Okay.
necessarily just
So,
deputies, but
how
when the
does
commission
that-
approves the budget, you're provided a list of all the positions for each department and what
Right.
those salaries and benefits total up to. And the commission has to approve when a department adds a position to its budget and what that title is. That's been the way the county commission has always handled it, so I didn't feel the sheriff's department was any different. So when the budget is approved, you're approving the budget not only for the figures, but what those positions are for that department.
Okay. Assuming the budget allows, how do you alter that number of positions?
Well, if somebody wants to alter the positions in their department, they have to go before the commission to request that position be added. And then at the end of the year would result in a budget amendment. But the budget can't be amended until November.
Okay. Okay. I have a motion and second. Any other comments, questions?
It was just a point of information for the commission and for the general public of the situation concerning the staffing with the sheriff's department.
Right, understand that. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor, aye? Thank you. Lost that. Okay, moving on, permission to bid the election supplies.
Yeah, as of last week, the ballots are set. We have to have them printed with the other supplies. We do this every year for every election. Usually there's just one bidder, but we like to just go ahead and give it a shot and try to see if there's anybody else out there that's wanting to bid it. Two dates that we start voting 3 weeks from today. That's why we have to get this done, but we can't do it until we actually have approved ballot, which happened last week. It's not even complete because of the initial petitions are still being checked for signature verifications. But July 10th is another date that you might make note of. That's the last date that you can register to vote. So we start voting absentee in 3 weeks from today, and last time to register to vote is the 10th, and the vote is, final day is on August 3rd. So I'm asking permission to get our ballots down.
I make a motion, we give permission for the clerk's office to bid out the election supplies for the August election.
Second,
Second.
questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
How many different ballots will there be?
There's gonna be, well, this time, you've got the Democrat and the Republican ballot for everything, but they're different, they're not different school boards and cities and things like that. The only thing is the ballot is so long that it's two-sided, which is always a problem, because even though my poll workers say, make sure you turn it over and vote it on the other side, people get, and they check, and they put it in, and, it does, but they've got so many issues out there. Besides, this is the first time, we've got a lot of candidates for all statewide positions, local elections, and therefore those all take place.
Kevin, this sounds like a question, but if that's not voted on the back side, it still runs through, it still goes counts your vote.
Yeah, it counts the ones on the front. Anytime you leave something blank, it counts the other things. But if you overvote, it kicks out on that particular thing, it still counts the other things.
Why don't you just make a quick check mark?
Well, technically, it's supposed to be
Locked
completely
in.
filled out, but it works on a percentage. The eye reader, that's one of the problems with hand counting, because then you have to determine the intent of the voter. Just because he put some type of a check through there, or an X, was that his intention or her intention? And whereas the computer reads it, they go from the center of the square out, and they determine what percentage of it. It doesn't have to be 100%, because most people don't fill in a blank. But if it's just part of it, a lot of times we'll sit there when we're auditing it and say, it must not have counted that one because the numbers didn't count.
Okay. All right. You did vote?
Yes.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I know we're gonna vote.
Yeah.
Okay, yesterday afternoon, the senior board met, and we dispersed the remaining funds of the tax income for the senior citizen centers, and this is how it went. And we do that by percentage of their original request. And so that's the way it was distributed, and so, and the board agreed to this. So I'd like a motion to accept.
I'll make a motion that we approve the senior board resolutions.
I'll second.
Second, any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, permission to apply for a grant. This is what I think is a wonderful opportunity to upgrade our morgue. And it's up to $500,000 with no match. And we've got a lot of things we want to do out there to really improve the service to the complete area. Serving 22, 24 counties now.
27.
27?
27, exactly. 27, and we have a few counties, actually, out there, the coroner and the pathologist side, even though it looks as a whole, they're separate, but the pathologist side, actually, there's a couple counties in northern Arkansas and western Illinois that they serve to.
Yeah.
Quite a few counties.
I won't be surprised if Jefferson County comes our way one day. So that's just my guess on it. But we're talking about adding another sink, which would double the capacity of it, and several more tables, and side port to unload the bodies. Just massive improvements of the facilities we have. So, and like I say, it's no match. So at the time we do this, I'd really like to change the name from the morgue to the St. Francis County Regional Forensic Center. I think because we are handling this service for so many counties. It's basically all of southeast Missouri. So I'd like to do that. So permission to apply for this grant.
I make a motion, we give permission to apply for the grant for the BJA FY24 Paul Covered Bill Forensic Science Improvement Grant for $500,000, no
Up
match.
to.
Up to $500,000, no match.
Okay.
Well, I'm gonna second that, but I am gonna add to what Harold said. Right now, when it's like when Jason comes in or an ambulance, that's all out in the open. and there's kids out there,
Weather.
there's people on the lot, weather, and what we're looking to do is actually, we have to get an architect to draw this up to go for the grant. Bridget's gonna be writing the grant, and, it'll just be good for the county. I mean, we're just really looking at, going after a grant, a grant's money we can build with our money, and it will actually house a door for an ambulance. If Jason's coming in, there'll be a second door. They can come in, it'll all be inside. And what we did, we took a trip, we went down and looked at Greene County and a few of the others, and just kind of going off what they have. And really, in a county aspect, it just makes it better place to come. It's more, I would say, hidden. When they come in, you can't see. They back in, they're protected from the weather. And then we had a few ideas, new coolers, the way it's set up more. We have a cooler inside, where inside the Sally Port there'd be coolers, maybe another forensic area there. And Jason then would have an area where they can go into the building. It just secures the area more. And I just think it'd be better for them working out there too, protects them. So that's why we're doing it. We're actually going out there today to draw it up where Bridget can write the grant. She's been working on the grant.
They're working at the rate right now of about 600 autopsies for this year. Yeah, I saw Carol's eyebrows go up. Yeah, it's amazing the amount of, I'll say business, I hate to say it that way, that this is bringing to the county. Every one of these cars that come in with a body is driven by professional people that will eat lunch here, they will buy fuel here, they may go buy a necktie here while they're waiting. So it brings a lot of business to town. And so I know that's the crude way of talking about a dead body, but that's realistic. So it's doing a wonderful thing for us here.
Well, it's actually like Jason, if he's working, he might be by himself. He can back in a door, the door closes, he's actually protected more, and that's what we're looking at too.
Yeah.
And we did have a couple times where people actually walked up on us.
Yeah.
We were there.
Yeah, and I mean, the safety for them, we gotta look at that too.
Yeah. And you gotta think about some of these are murder victims, you need to protect the evidence. All those things figure into it. So it's nice to have the better protected areas to work with. Okay, I got a motion and a second, I think. Any other questions? All in favor of applying for this grant, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, very much so. Okay, inmate phone service. Dan, you wanna talk about this?
I can, because the guy who's gonna do that is not here. Dan Bull, Sheriff. We are looking at the detention facility. We have home wave in there right now. Spelled funny, but that's proper.
For once, that's not my mistake.
No, it wasn't Harold's fault this time. And what this is a system that keeps us from having to have visits and visitation days. Inmates can't be cut off from the public and from having news and family and things like that anymore. So Home Wave is a system that's in there where they can actually go on a screen, talk to their family, get the news, things like that. Right now we have a phone service in the jail called Securus. We've had them for many years. Now Home Wave offers this same service and is willing to combine phone service with the computer service and the kiosk that's already there, and will pay us a larger percent of their profits, and it costs the county nothing for them to come in.
I looked this up, and as I understand it, if I were an inmate, detainee, I could have an account that somebody could put money in to pay for the service.
Yes, you can, and we have our commissary to jail where inmates can buy things that they want or need, potato chips, candy bars, Those cases,
Pistols? Pistols?
no pistols, no pistols, but, they can buy necessities or wants through that commissary. That commissary money goes into the inmate, fund account for us and helps pay for the deputies, uniforms, guns, belt, all the necessities that they need.
But that fund's separate from this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the inmate phone service for the sheriff's department at the jail.
I'll second.
Okay, question, the old service, you're gonna,
I might make note that the, contract for the old service has run out, and we've been using it just on a day-by-day, month-by-month basis. So there's no contract to let run out or go away. We're just, we haven't renewed that contract.
so what if an inmate has some money in a fund in that service?
Okay, now that inmate money is separate. That's in our commissary account.
Okay. So that won't be a problem.
Has nothing to do with the old phone service that we're getting rid of. Now, we do make some money off of that service. I don't have those exact amounts right now. Amber, did you look at that? Do you have any idea?
I don't have it written down with me, but I know off the voice calls alone, we got 65% of their adjusted gross revenue, where they'll back out any kind of fees they incur for it, but we get 65% of their bottom line.
Okay. Who pays for the installation of this?
So they do.
Okay,
The only cost I was able to figure that might be a cost that the county would incur is any cost to integrate to the jail management system. And we don't know what that would look like until,
is that an IT thing?
well, they just have to be able to access the inmates' information, be able to accurately charge the inmate. So they have to have direct access to it every 15 seconds, I think is what the contract said.
That's a regular management system we don't have that we're trying to get done right now.
Well, not now, they were. So,
And that's what I
Are these phone
figured it
calls
was already
recorded?
hooked up at one point in time.
Are these phone calls recorded?
Yes, they are. Now, we don't keep them forever.
They store them for a year to access, then after that, they get archived for a year.
Okay. Okay. I had a motion second. Any other questions?
And by the way, while you're speaking about that, the inmates or detainees, whatever we're gonna call them, are notified when they make a call, or somebody calls them, hey, this is being recorded. Now, you'd be surprised how many of them go ahead and talk about their crimes and things like that, and we can use that. And it has helped us solve many crimes. I guess they're not in jail because they're, rocket scientists.
Okay, any other questions, comments? All in favor of approving this new phone service, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, we have a possible emergency purchase coming up. Clay?
Yes, Commissioners, just to give you a little history, a couple months ago, the JDC had a water line break, service into their building, and they were without water, of course, and Road and Bridge jumped in and got it fixed and repaired the same day. But their aging infrastructure of the water line from the main, which is 240 feet away, it all needs replaced.
Have a capital supply.
Yes. Yeah, that capital supply, yeah, it runs all the way up to the road. So, this was going to continue to happen with the condition that the water main, and not only was it the water, but it was also the fire suppression, it was the hydrant and everything. So, we got with Ace and, explained this situation to him. And, he said, well, then if it all needs to be replaced, let's replace it. Well, it's an emergency in the sense that just the supplies for the materials to replace this water line will probably exceed the $12,000 max. Now, realize Road and Bridge is doing this work, but JDC is paying the bill. Now we're providing equipment, labor, fuel, if you will, and our guys are working on it today. I just came from there and they're waist deep in mud right now, working on this. However, we did go and get quotes from the different other vendors throughout the county. Capital Supply could not provide this type of material. Lowe's could not, Menards could not.
This is special pipe, good enough for a fire main.
Yes, so Waterworks in Bonne Terre is the only vendor in the area that can provide this type of industrial components to replace this water line. So we did get a quote from them on the materials needed, and their quote is $14,376. Now, it's probably gonna be a little less than that because we're doing this in a little bit of a conjunction with the City of Farmington's Water Department. But of course, we're hooking onto their main, and they're gonna provide some of the attachments from their main into ours. But Road and Bridge is doing the work, which I know at the commission's behest and in the spirit of saving money, Road and Bridge does a lot of work for, whether it be the jail, for JDC, for Weber Road, for whoever. This is just another one of those occasions. And it needed to be done sooner than later because it was gonna break again. So the emergency purchase is actually for JDC, not Road and Bridge. ACE is the one that will be paying this, but we are providing the work, and so it will exceed this threshold, so it probably will be an emergency purchase.
JDC is Juvenile Detention Center, ACE is Adrian Eckhoff,
Yes.
ahead of that.
Clay, are we paying this bill and they're reimbursing us, or are they paying the bill?
No, the quote comes to Road and Bridge, but the JDC will be paying the bill. Yeah, they'll be paying the bill. It'll go directly to them. They actually loaded all the materials on a truck and it just left their truck there for us to use. And we started yesterday. Hopefully we will be done at the end of this week, and they should only be down water a couple hours.
Well, I didn't want to step on Clay's toes, but what happened down there, when this was built, they used ductile iron. And the ductile iron probably shouldn't be getting holes in it. I think it was really the wrong pipe. And lo and behold, when this broke, it was after we just put a new lot down there, sealed it and redid it.
New
And
pavement.
it just we really lucked out that it didn't blow the side of the building out.
And I know Commissioner Buckley is familiar with this type of work, as is the other supervisor who's normally here at the meeting, John Groves, but he's there on site kind of supervising.
Probably in the hole.
He is, yeah, he's mud up to his waist with the rest of them, but he's familiar with this, and I know Carrie is too. But it's gonna be a substantial savings to JDC as well as savings to the county overall.
Okay, I got a question. This is very heavy, 20-foot long sections of pipe,
Yes,
and it's bell and gasket closing.
yes.
How do you squeeze them together?
Well, there's,
Bar,
yeah,
just bar them together, you put a soap on it, and
We
when
lubricate
they
them.
lubricate them, and you take a bar and you stick it under it, and it just pumps. And there's a line on it that shows it's in.
yeah.
When it goes into the bell, there's like a 6-inch line, and it'll show it butts up.
And there's
one thing
also-
good, it's plastic.
Yeah, but there's angled couplings.
Yeah.
When you have to change the angle, you know, it's just not laying flat. Of course, the ground isn't flat there. But the angled couplings are metal with plastic inserts in them.
What was the total price?
The total price of the quote was $14,376.62. We anticipate it to be less than this because some of these components will be provided by the city.
It was the Waterworks?
Waterworks, Montana, yes. Waterworks specialist. And, you know, they're the only company around here from Cape to St. Louis that can provide any type of industrial fire hydrants or any of that type of.
Well, and one thing good about doing this, we didn't have to, but it will cause in the future a tremendous amount of less worry, because
Well, and
it could be a really big problem down there.
unlike here, or Road and Bridge facility, or even say Weber Road, if we don't have water for a day or two, we can get by. But when you have residents at the jail and residents at JDC, they have to have water 24/7.
So it's not there by choice.
No.
Yeah.
And I actually think when we did this job, we improved the system.
We
When
did.
they put it in, I mean, it it kinda has a bypass line that you can shut off for, the fire department, and it has a bypass line that goes in and feeds it, and we improved that system as we did it.
And realize, you know, their focus was to provide water to that facility for the residents, but it's also a safety issue to provide fire suppression that they could be without.
Okay, motion?
Okay, so make a motion that, I guess we'll just, should we do this in the, emergency since it's over the 14th? Let's go with doing an emergency purchase for the supplies to run the new water main to the JDC building, coming out of the JDC budget at $14,376, paid to Waterworks in Bonterra.
I'll second that, and I wanna, really, for Road and Bridge putting this in, this, if we have to bid this out and put it in, it's a great savings to us that they can do this work. So, we're actually, this is a win situation for both entities here, the JDC and the county.
And
We're capable of doing that.
And it's a combination of having the equipment, it's also having the skilled individuals to know what they're doing.
Yeah. And John is very skilled at this particular.
He has background in this, it's what he did before he come to work for San Francisco County.
Okay. Yes, Rich?
How old is that building?
1982, that's when it was built.
You say 82?
And don't say that's old. Careful.
It's a Stanley Murphy.
Yeah, it's Stanley Murphy. I think he was the judge at that time and handled the juvenile, and that's why they named it after.
Okay. Thank you.
That facility, since we've rebuilt it and all, if you haven't had a chance to go down and look at it,
No, I've been
it's
out
kinda
there.
like the morgue when you're looking at it, to go down, we created new offices. I mean, it's like walking into a whole different place. It's set for the future.
It's an unusual structure, I've been
Yeah.
in it, yeah. Thank you.
We spent our money well there, we really provided them something for in the future.
Okay. Any other questions? Dan?
Just a comment, and nothing to do with JDC, but I'd like to, say that over at the detention facility, anytime we have anything or need anything, need a piece of equipment, need something done, Road and Bridge is right there, jumps right in and helps us get that done, as they do at the rest of the facilities, so they need to be commended for that.
They have state-of-the-art equipment. They have people that are skilled in multifacets, just like John can do this.
Right.
They have welders, they have carpenters, they have electricians, plumbers. So they've hired with those skills in mind. So they can put a mix of people in just about any job and excel at it. So we're proud of them.
And that's big savings to the county.
And I think Rich is too old to be at the juvenile.
So how many employees do you have down there?
Total
I'm telling
right
you why
now,
I'm there.
with office staff and supervisors, 36.
Oh, I think he means the job.
JGC
Oh, JD, how many employees?
are working today?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Oh,
I'm guessing
No, I
5.
mean, working on
oh,
the
four,
water line.
four,
Okay.
I'm sorry,
Oh.
4 road and bridge are there. And like I said, I just came from there and they're all waist deep in the mud, all down in the hole.
Now, upside down waist deep or right?
Well, they were upright and honest.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's the job.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, you got a grant request?
Nick Jones, Emergency Management Director. We're just looking to reapply for the Emergency Management Performance Grant. It'll pay for half the salary and some of the benefits. Last year we put in for half of the benefits and half the salary, and they only gave us about $300 on the benefits. And they're saying this year's probably about the same. But it's a 50-50 match, and 25,000 is probably about where we're gonna be at. I mean, it just depends on what they decide on the benefits.
This will be money that'll be spent no matter what. So we're just trying to get some of that back.
Yep, this is, I think, our 5th year we applied for it and got it, so it also pays, later on in the year, they'll do a mini grant, which will pay for, this year's paying for the tornado siren, so.
Okay? Motion?
All right, make a motion, we apply for the SEMA grant, for the emergency management at the total of $25,000 $818.58 is gonna be requested, and, get the 50% match.
Second,
I'll second that.
questions?
Nick, I did wanna ask Nick, you said this is in on the tornado siren.
So what happens is they put this out in July, and towards the end of this year, if there's money left over, they will do what they call the mini grant, which is the 50,000, no match.
Okay.
But this is aside from that?
Yes, if you don't have this grant, you can't get.
Can't get the-
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And I was gonna ask you, Nick, how are we doing on those tornadoes? Did they get them placed?
They have not got them placed yet. I gotta
It's
get
my
with-
fault.
We gotta get with Harold to down south, but as soon as we get that spot picked out,
It's my fault.
they're ready to go, so if we can make that happen.
Okay.
Follow through with my
Questions?
part, remember you say that. Decatur followed through with his part.
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, we're gonna be talking about the, different contracts possible with the sheriff's department on record keeping. And I always stress this, that my son-in-law works for one of those companies. I am a conflict of interest, so I will not vote on this and minimize my part of the discussion. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, we've been in discussion with Dan, and this is really an issue for Dan, because when these servers went down, Dan, if you want to talk on a little and explain your situation. But what we are doing, we are really looking at this, actually, we have a contract with Spielman that we have an outside legal advising us on this. And we've been in discussion with Dan yesterday. We know we can't have both of these. We have to pick one or the other. And we know that the Omnigo is actually best for the county in the future. But we might be contracted with Spielman, and what we are looking at is maybe an outside source to help us on that, where we can, actually, Dan, I think for the county, the local municipalities all have Omnigo, right, Dan?
Yes, they do,
And-
and the surrounding county.
And the surrounding counties, so if we ever had an issue in the future, you could kind of react off that with your records. And Spielman's independent, so in all for the county, in the best interest of the county, we can't have both of them. We can't buy one and then have to pay for the other. So the issue is right now, if the outside source is looking into how he can help us on that. So this probably will be tabled for at least 1 week. This issue is costing Dan on his records, right, Dan? He can't file his records right now, and they get behind as we go. So, we think by next Tuesday, maybe by Friday, we'll have an answer where we can act on this, and, we might have a special meeting. If not, we'll probably, act on this next Tuesday.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go one way or the other. Every hour, every minute that we go by, we're getting farther behind. System went down May 7th, April 9th, and that was somebody's birthday.
Yeah.
Anyway, every minute, every hour since then, we're creating paper records that's stacking up, piling up. Those will all have to be entered once we get a record management system, so time is of the essence. Like Commissioner Buckley said, we have a contract with Spielman, which is our old record company, the one that went down, we lost everything. And that was signed prior to it going down. We think there may be a way out of that contract. If there is, we would much rather go with the Omnigo or the ITI, because all the municipalities, the surrounding counties all have that record system. And we will recoup a bunch of our records that we lost if we go with that Omnigo. The only problem is we can't pay both contracts. Either we're gonna have to go back with Spielman if we have to pay that, or if we can get out of that, then go with Omnigo. We need to do that quickly, and as Commissioner Buckley said, hopefully by next Tuesday, if we go ahead and table this, we can get that thing done.
And go ahead.
So, for clarification, your system was lost in April, and the company was,
Spielman.
And what was the reason for the lost files?
We had a mechanical failure on one of the hard drives in the server.
On your end?
Yes, it was on the server, that's our server.
Okay, so there was no backup?
It was backing up into itself.
Uh-huh.
What they call a RAID 5, and then what happened is when that hard drive failed, it went to grab another hard drive and it instantly failed as well. Once you lose 2 hard drives, you lose the entire RAID array.
Okay, so now you're looking at another company,
Yes.
all right, which is?
Omnigo.
All right.
Okay, and Louis, I don't wanna cut you off. Omnigo, I'm not IT and I'm not.
I'm not either,
Sheriff
that's why I'm
Department.
asking the question.
Well, from what I understand, from what I know, I wish we'd had 2 choices before we went to Spillman, but that's hindsight. Because Omnigo supplies the server and the backup. You get them both when you pay for it. Spillman does not. Our system is designed, we had 1 server. So that server was full. You couldn't get any more information or what they did, they had to squeeze it in there. It was full, it crashed. The new system had to be, the server had to be built, 2 of them. And from what I understand, Nick stopped me, the 2 servers, there's still no cloud backup on this, you have to pay for it. But 1 server will actually, if it is full or.
We'll run parallel with each other.
We'll run
so-
parallel, the information goes into the other one. I still don't agree with that system. I would rather go with Omnigo, because they supply the server and the backup.
They don't actually provide a
And
server.
that's why I'm really looking to try to go with Omnigo, especially in the county aspect. 911 does not have Omnigo. Why, I don't know, I think they ought to all get together, have the same system, because all the municipalities do. Iron County has it, Madison, St. John. It's a system local that we can use with everybody.
Okay, so you have legal counsel involved, why?
On this contract with Spillman, to maybe look at the issues that's not right on the contract, that we can actually retain some of our money. That way we're not wasting the county's money when we go, say we can go to Omnigo. And we don't have that decision yet. I wish we would have probably moved on this quicker, but this was a quick movement with a local attorney that's doing a good job. I mean, he answered our questions, he's looking at it. Now, that's where we're at. I mean, even if he says he can't, we're gonna have to go to a system we already have a contract with. It's probably not best for the county, but it could cost the county $500,000.
So the current contract with Spillman is for how much?
Well, that's a good question. I've got 3 different ones here. If you wanna buy a backup, the contract we signed with Spillman is for $459,717. That's the contract in our
5
pay.
years. No, 5 years.
Yeah,
That's not right.
So we-
Contract that was approved in the minutes was $326,608.67.
okay. 326,608.
66.
And then on top of that, we have to pay a yearly maintenance agreement to Spillman.
That's what adds up though.
That's included in that.
No, it's not.
Minutes say.
There should be, there's $32,455.87, and then another $2,594.86 on top of the.
Well,
Those are annual?
Yes, those are annual.
The discrepancy, I said, that's why I got 3 different numbers. I really don't have an exact quote of what's Spillman. I know what they told us, but there's 3 different numbers here that we possibly would pay Spillman. With Omnigo, we have 1 number. Rich?
When did we go into the contract with Spillman?
January.
January 9th.
This one, but we've been under contract with them since 1995. This has been our operating system
Right.
all these years.
Right, so we renewed the contract this January.
Yes,
And it's a 5-year contract.
yes.
So learning what we learned from the outage and the fact that there is a newer, better system there, we've got 4.5 years of contract to renegotiate with Spillman to get out of it. Is
That's
that
what
correct?
that's why the outside legal is helping us on that
Okay.
contract.
All right.
And that's what we're trying to eliminate, a process there that we can go with Spillman
because we know in the future it'd be just like the water line down there. Fix it right, don't patch it.
But it's the same token, we're not gonna waste taxpayers' money, and
Yeah.
if we can't get out of that contract, then Spillman's gonna be our record man.
When we sign a contract, was there a clause in it if we wanted to get out of it early?
No, not that I know of. Now, I'm not telling you, that's beyond me, that's legal, that's why we have an issue letting legal tell us.
Okay.
Like I said, we've been with them for 29 years.
I mean, we're, right now, we're trying to protect money for the citizen.
Understood.
And get the best product we can for the future. And by all means, Omnigo, I think, for the future, but we still might not be able to use it.
And how much would that cost?
Okay, thank you.
Omnigo, or if we have them both, we're looking at $946,000.
Individually.
So
Yeah.
for Omnigo for 5 years, it's $456,730.11
For 5 years?
for 5 years.
Yeah, so we do have an issue here, and we might be caught, we really don't know, that's why we wanna give it a little extra time to maybe come up with the right answer.
So currently, are you dealing with Spillman now as the active?
We have not really made that decision, I mean, right now, we're contracted.
We've got
under
nothing right now.
Well,
Yeah.
That's the problem.
On what system are you entering today's arrest records?
None. They're stacking up, that's what I'm saying, and then we're gonna have to spend a whole bunch of time entering all these once we get the system. So
Yeah.
that's why we're in such a hurry.
It needs to be done immediate, but we don't wanna,
rush
it's
in.
time consuming, but you don't wanna make that decision if you know you can have something better.
Well, we're here.
And it's costing Dan because he can't enter these records.
Well, and we can't go back and look for things other than just through paper like we used to do years ago. But the main thing is that we are good stewards of the taxpayers' money, and that's why we're going through this. And that's why we'd like for you to table it until next week.
Let's not use the word table, let's say advisement, because we can act quicker than that week.
That's true.
I mean, we could get an answer and have this Thursday.
Okay, does everybody agree we put this under advisement? Yes. Okay, moving along. Next regular meeting, next week, right here. Other business, anybody have correspondence? Public comments?
I'd like to make a public comment.
Yes, start with your name.
Yeah, my name is Jacob Goff, and it was about not quite 2 years ago that I was sitting in here and we announced that we were going to enroll the flock camera system in our community. And as we all found out last week, a alleged sex trafficker had been employed at the sheriff's department, and therefore a lot of questions arose in my head immediately as to what type of access did this person, who was within the probable cause statement, seeking out young girls in our community, what type of access did he have throughout his employment at the sheriff's department to this very powerful machine, this very powerful technology that can track individuals throughout our community. And so I just wanted to say that that is likely something that the public should know who was at risk using this powerful technology, and what access this individual did have to that system, and when it started, when it ended, what those permissions meant, who he could seek out within the community. So that's all I wanted
I
to say.
can actually answer that question. So he had an account that was made but was never active. He never went in and physically set up the account. So he never searched anything, never did anything in the account at all.
But he was given access and permission to use it.
He had access, but he never set it up. He didn't even have a
He
password.
could
He
have
never
had
logged
it.
into it.
He didn't have, but he could have had.
Yeah.
He could have had it.
How
Okay.
many people that you say you're in your employ that have this access?
Chief deputies, road officers,
Many, several.
yes.
Dan, we didn't have, what does this track for the good?
It does.
Like, it can literally track people coming into the county, going out. A good example, I do know this, the tracker of the shootout they had in Cape last year
actually was tracked from St. John to Cape with this system, right?
Yes, but not, the system didn't track anyone, it never does.
Okay.
And that's something you need to know, Jacob, is the system is there, and it keeps license information on there for a short period of time. But if I want to track somebody, I have to actually go in there and track it, and look at this camera, and then look at that, and the system does no tracking.
It just gives you information, it's really a license, or can it see the person, when you get that license, can you see in that car?
Oh, sometimes,
Yeah.
most often not, but if the cameras are full on frontal view and the sun's right, there's no tinted window, I might be able to tell who gave it was.
Okay.
Maybe, sometimes,
But basically it spots the car and the license.
that's what we're looking for, the license.
Yeah. And so if there's a warrant out for that license plate in the state of Maine,
It will.
hey, you got it right here, he's right here.
Yeah, and it's actually called an LPR, which is a license plate reader, that's all it is.
Okay, say there's a bank robbery, you can use that system.
Yes.
If there's a bank robbery and you've got a license number, you can start tracking that
Well,
car.
either
Even if
that
you
or
don't-
kidnapping or anything.
Even if you don't have a license plate, you can just put, you know, if it's a red car with a bumper sticker in the back glass,
Yeah.
you can put that in and it will hit on every red car with a bumper sticker.
Red Ford truck with a camper and a bumper sticker on the back that says, Nick is, problem or something like that. It will find that for you.
You can understand my concern, that is the technology and with what transpired.
But what I'm saying is he couldn't actually track anybody with that system if he had it.
Well,
access.
if he had seen a cute young girl in a car and he said, oh, that's a red Volvo, I wanna track the red Volvos throughout the community, that's what I was proposing that's what struck me.
Right.
Yeah, a deputy could do that, but he personally couldn't because he never set up his account. It was
Right.
never.
But it
he never-
could happen.
I mean, yeah, if he'd have walked into it and everything,
But
yeah.
those accounts are audited, they're not just out there just working. If somebody's, say, getting a divorce, and they start tracking their estranged wife, that would show up, and they would be,
Who would do that? Is there a committee? Because I know certain communities have set up like citizen oversight committees to do the auditing of these systems. Is that done internally?
yes,
within-
with my chief deputy, the help of IT. I mean, 'cause I don't even know how.
I can't, I've seen some of these pictures. You talk about the cute girl in Volvo. I don't know how you pick out one in those pictures. They're not that great.
If the deputy is at Walmart and sees, and that's what this gentleman was doing within the probable cause statement allegedly, that he could say, oh, I know what that car is, based on what the technology is. He could then, if he's got investigation access, which is probably a whole permissions thing, I'm just saying that technology does exist, and that's where my concern was when I heard that.
Right. And this particular block cameras do not do that, but there are systems out there that do, and I think they're very basic. St. Louis is having some problems with it right now.
Dan, roughly how many cases has this block cameras helped us on already?
I have no idea, because it's all over the United States, and it helped my agency with numerous, I don't know, Nick, do you have any idea?
I mean, I know it's a lot, but I couldn't.
Sure, I mean, it has made a big
Oh,
difference already.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we located a local person that had a mental breakdown and left. I mean, this was an area businessman, I'm not gonna mention any names.
Thank you.
Everybody knew, and he just disappeared. And we actually tracked him through Flock and found him out in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, in a motel out there. And he had no clue who he was, where he was, but through the Flock, we tracked him across the United States until we found him out there.
Well, I really think, I'm glad Jake brought, I mean, there's definitely advantage to it, but then, like you say, there's one individual to be a disadvantage.
Yes.
And more than likely in the future, you know, hopefully we can catch him before it gets too bad. I understand where you're coming
So
from.
the
I
tracking
understand
system,
that.
I would not be in favor of doing that at all.
Yeah.
This comes off and falls off.
Does there need to be a discussion about a citizen oversight committee, or is any more oversight needed, especially in light of this shocking revelation of last week?
No, and I don't think so. And as far as the sheriff's department go, you can see with the city of Farmington, Jeff can tell you, they can't do anything without going to a citizen board that probably knows nothing about police officers.
Yeah,
And
I understand
that's just
that.
the way it is, and I'm not in favor of it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bud.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jay.
Any other public comments? Departmental reports? Yes.
I just want to let you guys know that, since you guys emailed that the city of Leadwood was having some water problems, we were able to get them, 2 different loads of water over the last week and a half. But I did get a text message this morning that it has been restored and they are back.
Okay, that's bottled water that you're delivering.
Yep.
And about how many cases are bottled?
The first batch was 150 gallons and the second one was 120 gallons.
Okay. But that problem's solved now?
Yeah, they said this morning that they found it and took care of it. And
Thank you so much. Okay, that's our emergency management. Any other departmental reports? Okay, we do have, it's not on the consent agenda. Okay. Parks, I can't get your report up. Nick, help me out.
I can read the numbers. I see it on there.
Where my mouse at, you got it. Okay, we do have the sales tax reports, and it is up again this month at 8.37%, which is kind of the trend we've been seeing. And again, that red start of the year, you gotta see that was compared to over 15%. So that means we were only up about 12% that month. So that red looks bad, but it's still very good. And Nick, we're gonna test you out again here. And we're,
Speaking of technology.
yeah. Okay, I didn't. Okay, Prop P income. Now, it's at, Parks, you wanna talk about that 216,000 this month we received? Any idea on that?
Just the difference of it?
Well, it was, well, I see it, yeah, it's a trend for the year.
I think
so.
it's just like, I mean, it's gonna vary.
I got these 10 minutes before the
I
meeting.
also
so
think,
had
I
to
mean,
look.
we got, especially with online, I mean, we all know there's months where, you know, it's Amazon puts these deals, I mean, there's always, it's kinda hard to judge with it online, 'cause there's always these special, you know, Cyber Monday, there's these, so I think we're just gonna see that vary so
Okay.
often.
But it's up considerably.
I mean, it's not our biggest, I would say, I always think around 200 is kind of the average, right, 200.
Okay. And if you look at last year, we're about twice. But that, and again, all this money goes to the sheriff's department, as was promised. Hey, I got it. Adult marijuana is now at 72,000 for the year. And Parks, want to talk about
Yeah,
the 34?
I think I updated that last month, but for some that weren't here. So why we had zero was, there's multiple reasons. I got hold of the state, there was a local one, the Valley sold. So by the time the sale happened and everything, they missed the deadline to turn it in. So the state verified that with us, because obviously we were getting nervous when we saw zero up there. The other two were actually, and again, us reaching out to them, we found out they were not actually submitting their tax to the state at all. So they said they were gonna fix that, which obviously it looked like they did. So I still think that number could go up more with it. I think it's, you know, these businesses, it's new to them with this tax. I think we probably saw this anytime the tax is improved. It takes them a while to get their accounting right. Some of them are probably doing it quarterly, some are doing it annually before. So hopefully they'll start seeing that monthly, we can get a more accurate, you know, projection each month what we're gonna see.
Okay. For now, these funds are all in an interest-bearing storage account. Okay.
Because again, why we're doing that, for some that don't know, is there are these you know,
Possible litigation.
Yes, there could be that they're saying the 3%. I know Louis gave some clearance on that. Was it 2 weeks ago, Louis? That you
Yeah,
got from your
because
team?
we're stacking it.
Yep. So I still think, I mean, most counties are, I believe. I think it's safe to at least, you know, what did we say, the first year for sure, we'll just kind of let it sit there, build interest.
Yep.
And then that way, the worst thing we do is go spend that money, and then all of a sudden we have to pay that back. They pass something that we're able to borrow from something else.
So what are we getting, about 14% on interest on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other departmental reports?
I'd just like to say Cedar Run Bridge will be setting beams on that next week. Probably a month, the road will be open.
And 18 trucks of beans will be coming in?
18 beams, 18 trucks, so they'll be ready to set, and we'll do it next week, and then, I mean, of course, our goal is to have it done before school starts, which we will easily, but probably another month after we set the beams.
Okay. Any other departmental reports?
I make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay.